WX Live on July 13th. It is a Friday, and we're with Dave Harms, the infamous DevRoadmaps guy. So, before I talk about that, a reminder of WX DevCon 2012, Nashville, Tennessee. It's in early November, 7th to the 11th. Read about it. Go to that website, wxdevcon.com. Talk to Tim, and he will set you up. So I'm going to expand you up here. I wonder if that's big enough for people. Or should I take over the whole thing? Okay. Is that big enough for you guys, or shall I make that bigger?
That looks good for me.
Okay. Because I kind of want to leave the chat there in case people type. So if that's okay, I'm going to leave it there. What resolution did you have there?
Me?
Yeah.
1440 by something.
Okay. We'll just people say it's okay. So with no further ado, Dave Harms.
Good day.
Good day.
So everybody can see my screen here. DevRoadmaps.
Looks good, they said.
Okay. All right. So Arnold asked me if I would come on and talk a little bit about DevRoadmaps and what it is. And DevRoadmaps really is sort of an outgrowth of Clarion Magazine, and I think everybody knows Clarion Magazine. And starting probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, maybe something like that, I was starting to get Clarion developers who were coming to me and asking me if I would do something like Clarion Magazine or WinDev. And I resisted that for a long time because it seemed like the English-speaking community, WinDev community, was not really large enough to sustain that. But there's definitely been a significant upswing in interest over the last year or two, and we'd been wanting to make some changes to Clarion Magazine to how that was being published as well, and decided to go ahead and make a change. So Clarion Magazine is now in archive mode, meaning all the articles are there, will remain online, and people who have subscriptions still have access to those articles. But all of the new content for both Clarion and for WinDev is now being published at a site called DevRoadmaps, and you don't have to have the big long. You can just type in devroadmaps.com and it'll route you over to the home page. So I'm just really going to be talking about, obviously, about the WinDev side of DevRoadmaps today. And there are a couple of ways to get to the WinDev side. One is to click over here on WinDev content. The other way is to use a link like this one over here, which is just devroadmaps.com/WinDev. And what that will do is get you to the WinDev specific side. And before we go any further, DevRoadmaps is a subscription-based publication, like Clarion Magazine. And I'm definitely looking for contributions, and I'm hoping one of the things that will come out of this little session is that I'll get a few more submissions from people. And but I'm also gonna, in a little bit, just kind of walk everybody through how that works, because I think you guys are some of the prime candidates for contributing to WinDev, or contributing to DevRoadmaps WinDev. And it's a subscription-based site. If you're a contributor to the site, as long as you sort of meet some sort of minimum level of contribution, you can get access to the site at no charge. And back on the Clarion Magazine site, the way it worked out was if you wanted to redeem your earnings for a subscription, it worked out to about one feature article that was roughly equivalent to a year subscription. That was about 2,000 words, and that is sort of formally edited content, which takes a little bit more work than just kind of throwing stuff up on a wiki. So probably I'd say I'm looking for somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe on average 350 words a month. If you can come up with 350 words a month of reasonably accurate, useful, and um, interesting content, you're good to go. So just let me know if you have any questions about that side of things. But later on, I'll walk you through and just show you how easy it is to go through and do and add information to DevRoadmaps. I'm going to go. DevRoadmaps runs on using software called Confluence, which is produced by Atlassian. And some of you might have heard of that company. They're based out of Australia. They have offices worldwide now, and they produce, among other things, Jira, which is a really popular bug tracking issue management package. And Confluence has offered a lot of things that were really lacking in the Clarion Magazine site, which is something that I developed over the years. And there are actually a few things, of course, the Confluence doesn't have that I wish it had, that I'd written into Clarion Magazine, but I think the advantages have outweighed the disadvantages at this point. And the big one being it's just a lot easier to get a number of people involved in contributing content, sharing content, and making sure that the information that's on there is accurate. It's really, it's a wiki, but it's a wiki on steroids. There's an amazing amount of stuff that you can do and do quite easily with yeah, I'm going to actually links up here on the left-hand side for the home page, which started off on Clarion content, WinDev content, other content. But it's actually broken down a little bit more than that. So I'm just going to go to the dashboard here, and you're actually going to see, because I'm logged in as me as an administrator, there are a couple of extra spaces here that you probably won't see. So some of you will see this, all of this stuff too. If you have author access, you're going to see all of this stuff. So within the website, Confluence has this concept of spaces, and spaces are really kind of like websites within the website. And I sort of have granular permissions, so it's easy to set up permissions so that someone has access to all of the WinDev spaces, all of the Clarion spaces, and if you're a subscriber, you're automatically going to have access to all of it unless you don't want to see one part or another part. I can set that up for you in that case. But the WinDev, the primary WinDev spaces here, we've got 4 of them. We've got articles. There's the home page, which is mostly for blog postings, kind of let you know what's going on. There's the wiki, and then with Andy's kind permission, I also have a space that's just for an archive of the Skype chat. And I'll come back to that in a little bit. Most of the action, there's not a whole ton of stuff going on the articles at this point, because the focus at this point hasn't been on formally edited articles, but I'm definitely interested in receiving more articles like that. So if you have something that you think could be sort of wrapped up into more of what you would traditionally thought of as an article, the kind you had on Clarion Magazine, please let me know, and I'll show you a little bit about what that, how you can go about doing that once you have that kind of access. Spend a little bit more time over in the wiki section. So over on the left-hand side here, some of the categories. Got some a little bit of tips and technique stuff. There are quite a lot of links here. And we've got links for WinDev related blogs. And actually we've got actually just some feeds from Ben's blog, from Andy's blog, and from Pete's blog. And if you have a blog you'd like to have listed here, let me know, and I'll drop it in there. I've also, of course, have there's a link here to the Skype chat, Facebook pages. Got a variety of things going on there. We have some official PCSoft links, and of course, all of these things can be searched. So you can search with a lot of different search options here. So if I were to look for, well, let's see, what's file SQL. The search will give you that a little bit of context information, but I can also restrict this to just looking at certain spaces. If I just want to look, for instance, within the wiki, and just look at either pages, comments, specific dates, a lot of, and of course, compound search terms. All those things are available. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. Most of the I should show you a little bit here. There's a little bit of information as well on databases, both the hyperfile SQL and a little bit just various notes here. And what I'm looking for is, these things come up. They come up in the chat. They come up in different places. Really, I'm looking to build DevRoadmaps into that kind of one-stop shop, so that there's going to be information here. Yes, there's going to be some information here that's available other places. There will be information, articles, and so forth. They'll only be available here. If information is available elsewhere, I'd still like to see something about that listed at DevRoadmaps, so that you have one place that you can search for everything. So one of the big problems, and it seems to be getting worse in my opinion, is that it's getting harder and harder actually to find stuff using search tools like Google and Bing. And I find it's getting harder, not simply because there's more information out there. It's getting harder because we've had so many years of people gaming the search engines, that it's increasingly hard to find what you're looking for. More often you end up finding what somebody else thinks you ought to be looking for. And so this is a way of kind of filtering down some of that information so that you really can get at the stuff that you need to find. And most of the activity recently has been this section here, learning WinDev in an hour a day. And I decided that I really needed to get up to speed on this tool that an increasing number of current and former Clarion developers are using. And I figured the only way I was really going to do that, because I'm quite busy with between I've got DevRoadmaps, the Clarion side of that as well, and I do a lot of consulting on a very large Clarion system of about 200 applications, and I just needed to carve out some time. So this section here is really my diary, if you will, of learning about WinDev. And at this point, I've just been working my way. I'm thinking about 2/3 of the way through the WinDev tutorial. And although I'm repeating some of the information that's in the tutorial, it's also, I hope it's helpful. And I've had a couple of nice comments from people who do seem to feel that it is helpful, because I'm also, I'll be puzzling over some things. When you sit down with a new tool, especially when you're familiar with something, a similar tool that does things in certain different ways, you look for certain things, or you expect certain things, and you don't find them right away, and then you want to, make sense out of this based on the context that you have. And because at this point, the majority of the people who are on this site are people who have a Clarion background, I'm hopeful and believe that perspective will be something that people can relate to. So I've gone through, I've got, whoops, I've got a little problem here. I've got day 31 twice. Okay, I'm going to show you a little bit about how the editing works here. Just clicking on the edit button, that to day 32. And basically, I've just gone through all of these different steps. I've had a few detours along the way. I got a little bit absorbed with the unit testing idea. I've encountered a few questions about SQL, hyperfile SQL in particular. I'll bring some of those questions up in a minute. But there's also additional information within the DevRoadmap site that doesn't necessarily fall strictly under the WinDev umbrella. Yep.
Hey, Dave, on this learning, do you allow comments, or are you just kind of talking?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the bottom here, and there have been periodically people have posted comments. Right down at the bottom here, just click on Add Comment, and then you can go ahead and you actually have it. It's kind of nice. You have the full WinDev editor here, so you can be typing something, and if you want to add a link, you can press Control K and then insert. You can search for something on the site if you want to reference back to something else somewhere on the website, recently viewed.
Oh,
You
nice.
can upload attachments. You can put a web link in. Um, this just is very nice. There's all kinds of stuff you can do there.
Boy, I better
And of
put my
course,
avatar
if
in,
you're a
huh?
pardon,
I better put my avatar in there with my
you do,
long hair like you.
yeah, just had it cut.
Oh,
It, you can also, if you're a contributor, and the way the rights are set up on the site is, in general, I've kind of divided the spaces into two kinds. There are wiki spaces, and then there are article spaces. And the article spaces have sort of a little bit of a higher standard, in that those are articles that have been through some sort of an editing process. And if you're an author, then you have the opportunity to edit your articles. You can actually edit other people's articles. If you because it's a wiki, there's always a full history, so you don't have to worry about somebody mucking stuff up and then not really realizing what happened. So if we go to page history, yeah, I don't need to keep my there. You can actually see, I can go back and I can compare several versions of this page. Uh, and this basically on there, here's the key on the right that tells me, what was added, removed, what was changed. And not a whole lot changed between those two. So there's always an opportunity to go back, and unless you can't delete pages unless you're an administrator, so you don't need to worry about people sort of getting rid of something of your important work. You can always go back and restore something if it accidentally gets mucked up. But within the wiki section, there's sort of kind of really four levels of access, if you like, within the system. There's read-only access, which still allows you to post comments. There's contributor status, which allows you to add or update wiki pages, spaces that are really designated wiki pages. There's author status, which allows you to do everything all the way up to article spaces. And then, of course, there's administrator status, which your typical subscriber is not going to have. So that's the right. So that's still the sort of the WinDev side. And I look a little bit at the other content, because what I was saying before is there's a lot of information. If I go back to I'm just going to go back to the dashboard up here, because that's maybe a little bit easier way to see some of this. So there are a few other, for instance, SQL. SQL is something that, let's open this in another tab here. SQL is something that you're frequently dealing with. You're most likely dealing with, whether you're a Clarion developer or a WinDev developer or a C# developer, or whatever. I mean, it's just databases are pervasive if you're a business software developer. So you need to know about this kind of stuff. So various kinds of information here about different databases, general information, database administration, a list of, for instance, of database administration tools. There are other spaces here. What else do we have here? We've got actually a just sort of a general wiki here for various kinds of, we got for RAD tools. And so this is stuff that isn't already elsewhere. Like, obviously Clarion's a RAD tool, WinDev's a RAD tool. I've got an opportunity here to list some other kinds of tooling there as well. And it's such a broad area, and this is just still early days for DevRoadmaps, but really I'm looking for people who are interested in contributing more of these little nuggets of information, and the core value behind all of this, or the mission behind all of this is, we're all people who develop business software, and we use a variety of tools to develop that business software, and it gives us a certain perspective. We have certain common constraints that we have. We typically have to deliver software in a timely fashion. We often have to be quite agile in our approach. We have to be able to respond quickly to customer needs. And so there are a whole lot of different things that come into all of this. So there's quite a bit of stuff. For instance, here, there's a tools of the trade section. So you get project management, you get a little entry here on fog bugs. A little bit of information on Visual Studio. For instance, I don't know how many people are aware of this little item from Visual Studio, the Architecture Explorer, which is, I think, I'm not sure which version of Visual Studio you need for this now, but this is, we're used to sort of we have the Clarion way of looking and getting an application view. You've got the WinDev way, and this is sort of Visual Studio's way of exploring the architecture of an application. So all of these things are the kinds of things that matter to business software developers. And DevRoadmaps is all about finding a home for that kind of information. So obviously, the two key areas are Clarion and WinDev, but there's room for a lot of other stuff as well, and a lot of overlapping stuff. If you go to the About the Site page, here's sort of the idea. So you have overlapping spheres of interest, and we got Clarion kind of gives you a one packaged approach to doing that. WinDev is another packaged approach to, I think, in many ways a more complete packaged approach. But there still are other areas within that are common to both, and this is also part of DevRoadmaps' mission, is to cover that kind of information, be a repository for that kind of information. I want to show you one other area here. This is a comparisons section here, and comparisons are sort of a really kind of a tricky area, because everybody has a particular perspective on what their preferred tool is good for and how it's superior to other tools. And so I haven't really advertised this little part of the website too much, but it's something I would like to see expanded. And and you notice up here I've got a few different categories right now, and there can certainly be more categories. So I've got Win32 Clarion, I've got Clarion.net, WinDev, WinDev Mobile, and WebDev. And just looking at some of the different features at a glance to give people some idea of where they can find certain kinds of capabilities. So for instance, Windows CE, Windows Mobile, you've got two different options there. For Android and iPhone, you've just got the WinDev Mobile option. Various other kinds of things. Little legend here for the different symbols. So I'd be interested in seeing this get fattened up a little bit more. Also, SQL databases don't really have anything here at this point. It'd be nice to see some features there. And obviously, I'm going to be particularly careful about this. I really want to avoid any kind of flaming or particular prejudice. But I think it's worthwhile having some discussion about some of these things at times. So certainly open to that. Check my notes here. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay. I have a couple of questions, and I'm just going to bring these up. If anybody wants to.
Hey, Dave.
Oh, Chris it looks like.
Yeah, somebody's typing now. How does one add to the matrix? Do they talk to you about that, or they can put a comment and add?
What you do? Let's say, for instance.
Let's put
okay.
Case sensitivity.
I'm going to add something. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So what you do then is you go up here and you click on Edit.
Oh, anybody can do that. It's kind of a real wiki.
It's a wiki, but you have to have contributor status. So your run-of-the-mill subscriber is going to have they can add comments, but they can't actually go ahead and edit this. So Okay, so language, oops, language is case sensitive. And
Can
I
you
find the
start that
easiest
again?
way.
Because I think you went so quick we didn't know how you did that.
Okay, so I'm going to cancel my change there. So on the upper right-hand corner there, you can see that maybe I'll just walk you through this little menu here. Okay, because this little menu up here is really where the good stuff all happens. So there's an edit button here, which is there's a shortcut. If you're on the page, you can just press the letter E, and that'll bring you into edit mode. You can also add a new page, which will be a page underneath this page. You can page from template. I don't really have any particular page templates
Hey,
set up,
Dave.
but there are different. Yeah.
If you hit add a page, does it have to have a link from this page? Does it create a link or something?
Yeah, sure. What it'll do. So let's say, uh, uh, just add a notes page or something
Okay.
like that, and I'll save this. So if I go back now, you notice that it is showing in the hierarchy
Right.
underneath here.
Okay.
And if I go down to the bottom of this page, it'll say there's one child page right
Ah.
there.
So
And
if you had
if I go to
multiple,
this page,
you would have a bunch of them side by side down on the bottom.
they would just be listed underneath there,
Okay.
yes. But what I can also do is I can go to Tools, and I can say View in Hierarchy. And if I decide I put this page in the wrong place, I can now drag it over here, put it under
Oh,
this,
that's sweet.
um, here, wherever it needs to be. And I'm not sure actually if you're a contributor, if you can move the pages around. I don't know where that fits in the rights there. But and you have different ways of viewing the pages. You can view sort of the recently updated. You can view them in alphabetical order, and of course back to the tree view, which is where I was. And I'm just going to go to this page again, and because I don't really need that page, because
You have the
I
rights.
have the power, I'm going to remove it. And it notes here, even if a page gets deleted, it goes into the trash, and administrators can retrieve it. But at this point, only administrators can actually
Chris,
do
not
anything with
just
it.
anybody can do this. They have to have rights that uh, contributor
Yeah,
rights that Dave has given that person. So, but he knows
yes, and
he knows what who did
only
what, right? So you can spank him.
yeah, absolutely. I get a notice whenever something changes on the site. So if someone's going through, I mean, it's possible that someone could, start convince me that they're worthy of contributor or author access, and then start mucking things about. And so there'd be a little bit of work involved. I would have to go back and undo the things that they did, and remove their access from the system. But I don't think that's very likely. And in any case, there is a recovery path because this information all is that there's an audit trail on all of the stuff, so you can see who's done what. Yeah. So Chris says, yeah, as long as you can't do it. Well, I'll have to check your rights, Chris, and make sure I can give you.
Hey, protect himself, you
But
know.
no, nobody at this point. Only administrators can delete pages. So yeah, you don't need to worry about that. And I say, even if you did delete something, if you had those rights and you deleted something, um, an administrator can still restore the page.
Hey, Dave,
So,
if I
mhm.
put a comment in, can I recover it back and says, "Oops, wrong place," or "That's not exactly correct," or is there a way to
You
recover
can
a comment?
edit a comment after you make it, and you can also I can delete a comment as an administrator if you need it deleted. I'm not sure. Um, this is a good question. Arnold, let me just um, can you go ahead
You want
and
me to go make a comment somewhere?
I want you to go make a comment somewhere. So I'm just
Go
gonna
to data type
go off
or
to the
where
side and
data
go into.
type types.
I'm gonna just double check. I think you should be have no trouble at all.
Ooh,
I mean, I could also sign in as just an author, I guess, but
Yeah,
Go ahead and.
you can do that. Can you open up a different instance, or does it? No.
Yeah, I just have to remember what. I just have to remember my other logins. What, can we switch back to you really easily? And
Not that easy.
not that easy.
Well,
Okay, so you know what?
well,
Here, I'll just show you what happens if I had a comment.
okay.
And okay,
Like what the hell?
what
A
wow, what a
stunning.
stunning demo.
Yeah.
Um, I can, well, I can't actually. It looks like I can remove mine. Why don't you go ahead and try and just see if you also get the remove
Okay.
option there?
Okay. Let me
I
see.
can also go in. I can edit it. I can remove the over the top stunning,
This
or I
is
can.
just a test on continuous compiling.
Okay.
Save.
What page are you on
I'm on
there?
continuous compiling and testing, and I do
Okay.
not have a delete.
But you have a reply
I
and
have
you
a
have
reply and
an
I have
edit.
an edit. Yeah.
Okay, let's go look down at Arnold's. Is this the page that you're on?
No, it's just Mark Ruffy
No, no.
brought Mighty
Oh,
Moose to my attention.
is that the one that you're on?
No, well, it does say continuous compiling, and it
Yeah, there are a
is.
couple of.
Yeah, I just went to the first one.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
thought.
there we go. In fact, look at this. Okay, I
Okay.
was searching for it,
Yeah.
and there is a. That's your comment came up in the search. The third item came up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so it takes me right to your comment. So do you want me to go ahead and remove that then?
I think that would be a good idea. It's just a test.
Okay. I'll remove.
I'm on it, and it doesn't. I just refresh the page, and I guess it'll go away. Let me do
Yeah.
that.
There's also sometimes a short lag. I know
Oh, it's
when
gone.
I start an article.
I just
Yeah.
refreshed it.
So for instance, I'll just kind of walk you through how I do how I'm doing these articles for the WinDev in an hour a day. By the way, if you go in dashboard mode here, this gets you that list. You can sort of mark spaces as favorites if you want to have them show up at the top here. And I can also just click up here on the logo. When I click up on the logo, then I get sort of the standard menu down the left. And if I go to, actually I'll just go to my WinDev in an hour a day. I want to add a new page here now. This is typically a couple of different ways you can create pages. What I often do, the way I usually do WinDev in an hour a day, and I also do this. Oh, by the way, I'll just show another one here.
You have a template?
I haven't shown. I got a WX Live page here. Okay, so WX Live, and I put up irregularly. I've added some show notes to that, and when I add show notes, what I usually do is I'll go and I'll add a page, and I'll call this. Let's call this.
Hey, what about today?
Yeah. Okay. And I'm just going to save this right now. And what I'll do, because I may be coming back to this, I'll go over to Tools. I'll go to Restrictions. And I'll say just restrict viewing of this page to me only. And then I'll go back in and I'll edit the page and I'll work on it. And if I have to leave it and come back to it later, I keep sort of adding stuff to it. And then once it's finished, then I'll come back and I can either go to Tools Restrictions or I can just click on the little lock here and I'll say Remove Restriction.
Oh, so it's just in
And
draft mode, Dave?
yeah, so it's kind of in a draft mode.
Okay.
I have on one or two occasions forgot to remove the restriction, and then I've gone ahead and posted the blog entry. And so I've had a couple of emails from people who have said, "Hey, I'm clicking on the link for the today's entry, and I can't see the page, and it's just because I forgot to move the restriction from that." So
I just got an email that I put from you on Confluence that
okay,
says,
it
oh,
says I
that I
deleted
put
your
it.
comment.
No, it says I put this in. It didn't say you deleted it. Just say I put it in.
Okay, so you just got a notice back saying that you're
I put it in, but
your comment went up.
yeah, but probably we'll get one that you deleted it, huh?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
We'll see.
But I guess that would also be helpful if someone's using if someone hacked your account and started posting things. It's good for you to get a confirmation of the stuff you posted, so you would know that someone is up to no good with your account.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll also notice that all the pages, everything's automatically routed to the HTTPS. It's all secure HTTP, so that adds a little bit. It's not the case with Clarion Magazine. Doesn't actually have a certificate on it right now. I did at one time, but it was never really a requirement. And DevRoadmaps is set up so that really that's the only way you access it. Which is going to make it a little bit slower. And I know there have been a couple of concerns because DevRoadmaps, Confluence has a bigger JavaScript payload, and it has it in form of several discrete JavaScript files, which slows things down a little bit as well. So there's a little bit more of a delay. But I should be interested to know whether people are noticing that it's running a little bit faster now, because I followed Bendel's advice, or not Bendel's advice, Benjamin Krejmalnik's advice, and switched from using Apache as the proxy server to using Nginx, which is really pretty sweet.
So you're hosting this on your server then?
Well, yeah, it's a lease server.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, that's what I meant. But you're self-hosting rather than like on a SaaS or something.
Yeah, and you can do it with Atlassian. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can also get a monthly subscription, or they'll host for you, and you pay a fee. Um, but if you're hosting with Atlassian, you don't have as many customization options, and I wanted to be able to have the DevRoadmaps logo up top, and to be able to customize the style sheet and do a number of other kinds of things. And there's a lot more that can be done yet with this, and there are a lot more different plugins that are available. And I also need to upgrade at some point over the next couple of months. I'd like to upgrade. It's a little bit more involved upgrading Confluence once you've made modifications to it, as I have. But there are some nice features in the newer versions of Confluence, like you can vote pages up and that kind of thing.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah. So there's more good stuff to come, and it's actually kind of nice to be able to offload some of those things to another company and just have them producing things. Confluence is not cheap though.
Yeah.
It's
But you can focus on
I'll
your
tell you how much.
content.
Yeah, yeah. So there still are, for people who want to subscribe, and I hope everybody wants to subscribe. If you're either please contribute content and get in that way, or I'll be happy to take your money as well. The way subscribing works right now is actually you subscribe the way you did before to Clarion Magazine. You go to the store, and I need to sort of update the descriptions here a little bit. But basically, you take out a Clarion Magazine subscription, and you give me about a business day, and then I'll have your access set up over on DevRoadmaps. As anybody who's been through this kind of a process before, it's kind of like switching platforms in a way. It's kind of like if you've got a product that you're selling and you go and you rewrite it from Clarion to WinDev, or WinDev to Clarion, or whatever it happens to be. There are a million little things that you still have to deal with, and so I appreciate people's patience, because there are a lot of things that need to be dealt with. So yeah, subscription is still basically via the Clarion Magazine store, and probably will stay that for at least a little while yet. Also means you can go to the Clarion Magazine store and get your subscription status. Whatever your subscription status is on the Clarion Magazine site, that's also going to be your access on DevRoadmaps.
Is there like an RSS feed that every time you put something up, I find out about that, or?
Yeah. Arnold, I think you should be able to see this too. I want to make sure it's not just an admin thing, but
Okay.
and I've made a couple of feeds, and I kind of need to publicize the link somewhere. But if you go to browse,
Wow, I only see 5
under
things.
browse,
Yeah.
you see Feed Builder as one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see
So if
what's
you go to
new,
feed,
space directory, feed builder, keyboard shortcuts, and Confluence gadgets. I can put gadgets on my system. Cool. Okay, I'll go to feed builder. Oh, I got it. Okay.
um, yeah. So feed builder, you can decide what you can build your own feed of whatever parts of the system you want. So if I want to have, get some DevRoadmaps, maybe the SQL space. Um,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
going to do data just in case
Yeah,
Pete publishes something in there for you.
yeah. There's also there's in the data other section there, maybe tools of the trade.
Uh-huh.
Go to advanced options here.
Okay.
Under advanced options, you can say, um, I can I can say, give me 50 items within the last 30 days. Include the content, create the feed, and now you can do whatever you want with you know put it in your reader and you're good to go. Yeah. So yeah, you can you can have whatever you want as far as a feed. There really you can have any number of different feeds for different areas. So yeah, a lot of flexibility there.
So can I, if I get
Content.
really into a topic, can I request like a featured column? That's kind of like what those pages are, right? Like that could be my area that I can contribute to continually.
Yeah, and if someone has an area that they particularly want to focus on, um, if it's of enough interest, I can give you your own space. So each space has its own blog, and I've kind of kept things pretty simple. And really, well, there's really four blogs, I guess. You could four blogs, or is it five now? So the Clarion content is kind of like the homepage for Clarion stuff. So there's a blog here. The WinDev content, there's a blog here, and if you won't see this unless you have blogging rights, but every time I go and do another post here, um, I say in my WinDev in an hour a day or any other thing that needs to go up there, what I do is I just go to the WinDev content homepage and I add a blog post. And that's really how stuff gets announced on the system. It could be that someone may make a contribution to the wiki. If that doesn't get blogged about, it's not going to be on this page. Uh, but uh, they can either ask me to blog about it, or if they have the rights, they could blog it as well. The There's a blog for other content, which is sort of kind of all the stuff that is not specific to Clarion or to WinDev. I'll just say for the Clarion people, there's actually a third-party section, and if you're a there isn't really sort of the same need for a third-party section, at least that I found so far in WinDev, because everything's kind of in the box, and there isn't really that major third-party community. But what I did, because there was that on the Clarion side, is this particular space within the DevRoadmap site is for third-party people. And you notice that a few third-party guys have actually started. I tend to still kind of go through and periodically harvest stuff out of the third-party news groups and throw that in. But this is Brand Partridge, who has third-party rights, so he can blog whatever he wants here. The Capesoft guys, any third-party person can just blog stuff here. And if there's enough of a need for that within the WinDev community, if there are enough people doing sort of some third-party stuff or whatever, I can set up a space like that for WinDev as well. And then anybody who I give rights to can then blog about whatever happens to be going on in their little world. Or, as I said, if you've got some particular area that's sort of your focus, and if it's of significant enough acceptance among the readers out there and interesting enough, I'm happy to set up a space for somebody who just wants to kind of have their sort of platform, their domain within DevRoadmaps. Lots of opportunity there.
Yeah, I need, like Alan says, I need an area called Arnold's Antidote, and it's private, so nobody sees it. Did you say there was a
Um,
store page? Not here.
yeah, you just to subscribe. As I say, I need to update some of this stuff a little bit just to point out that this is now a DevRoadmaps.
Hey,
These are DevRoadmap
Dave, just hit
subscriptions.
edit. Change it now. I'm only kidding.
Yeah, you know what? I actually can do it reasonably quickly within the store because that's in the
Yeah.
database. One of the things that, I mean, the editing is just so nice to have the, oh, I gotta really show you this because, and I didn't, I was gonna do this because I want people to just sort of see how cool this is. And I need to find me an,
So why I wanted
let's
Dave
say,
to come here and show you his stuff. You know, Dave takes a lot of time to go figure out what platforms and things he does. So when he went with Confluence, you know, you can see what a clean, powerful, extensible system looks like. And I thought that alone was worth the ticket today. Um, and
it's pretty, I'm using it for a few other things. I'm using it for, I actually have three other sites, Confluence sites that I'm running at the moment. And one of them is related to this consulting that I'm doing. So I've just got a site these are like $10 a month. You can get a basic site going, and I've got one of those for a consulting project. I've got another one which has sort of kind of all of the administrative information for how DevRoadmaps is run. You know, information, how to do this part, how the servers are set up, all of that kind of stuff. And then I've got another one I set up for our daughter plays ringette, which is for people who don't know. It's sort of it's a little bit like hockey in that you play it on skates and on a on a hockey rink, but the play itself is probably more a little bit more like basketball in terms of the strategy and the way the play goes out. Anyway, and so I've set up a site there for this committee, that one of the local committee that it administers a ringette organization. So I'm finding it just I really like it. It's incredibly powerful package, and there are all kinds of things that I'm not even close to doing yet with it.
but you had to think through the whole how you want to present it because there's so many options, right? Of how it.
Yeah, and what's kind of interesting to me, or a little bit, I don't know if it's ironic or not, but when I first created, well, actually, the very first couple of months of Clarion Magazine where I'm a little embarrassed to say were actually just static pages because I wanted to sort of, before I invested a whole lot in it, I wanted to sort of see how it was going to fly, and it did really well. There was great acceptance among the community for which I'm grateful, and so I ended up writing the initial um, web application, if you like, to deliver Clarion Magazine using Java and Tomcat.
And your
And
back end was
using
Postgres, wasn't it?
back
Oh,
MySQL,
okay.
and it was using a model view controller, an MVC architecture. And then I guess it's probably 4 or 5 years ago now. I started rewriting Clarion Magazine in for a Windows platform using ultimately using C# and ASP.NET MVC. And Confluence it's a Java application and it's running on Tomcat. So
You're back to that world.
kind of back to that world. It's actually kind of nice because although I haven't really done any kind of customization yet, it's nice because I'm familiar with that world. So there are things I would like to do eventually, write some plugins to bring some of a few of the nice things that I have in Clarion Magazine, bring them into DevRoadmaps. So I feel that I have an option there that is fairly familiar to me.
Fantastic. Hey, Chris asks, he says, why isn't my subscription info in my profile? Where do I look for
Yeah, well,
that?
that's one of those things. The subscription information, Confluence isn't really. There was a little bit of work getting Confluence set up because Confluence is kind of philosophically a very open product. And one of the things is there's some for instance, privacy issues. I actually had to disable the directory because by default, everybody can see everybody else who's a subscriber. And because that wasn't the case on Clarion Magazine, I didn't want to just automatically open that up without having everybody's buy-in on that. So it actually took a little bit of work to find all the different ways to sort of disable that so that I didn't necessarily have the same kind of, everybody can see everybody and know their name and know how to get in touch with them. And there are other things like, they're built, that I built into Clarion Magazine that, Confluence isn't really set up, although it has many, many things that I'm finding incredibly useful. It doesn't really have subscription management. So that's why at this point, we're still using Clarion Magazine as sort of for the subscription management side of things. So we'll get there eventually.
Oh, that makes sense. I gotcha.
All these things take some time. What I wanted to show really quickly is, I'm just gonna copy the image. I just want to copy image and okay. So let me just show you something that this is actually, we all have little things that just are kind of those make or break issues for us. And anybody, if you've worked with Wiki software for a while, one of the things that is often, or at least traditionally, has been a real pain, has been dealing with images, because a lot of times you might have to upload the image before you can use it. What I really wanted to do is just to be able to paste images in. And so let me go to, no, sorry, we'll stick with the WinDev stuff here. Where are we going to be here? WinDev, just go to WinDev articles. Let's say I want to add a page here. And let's put in some text here. And then I decide I want an image. I've just copied an image to the clipboard. I press Control V, image pasted right into the document. And I'm good to go. Now there's a caveat to this. It doesn't work with Internet Explorer to paste in. It should work. It did work with both Firefox and Chrome, and then a newer version of Firefox came out, and somebody hadn't thought to account for possibly, I guess, double digits in the Firefox version number, and so that broke the code. And I haven't updated yet to the code that will allow it to work with Firefox. So you notice I'm using Chrome. It works perfectly in Chrome. If you're in Firefox, you can still drag and drop images from say, Windows Explorer right into the page. That'll work as well. But for editing, this is the best way to go is just to use Chrome. There are all kinds of there are macros. So you notice I just typed an open brace there. Different macros that are available. You can embed. You saw that I embedded in an earlier page there. I embedded an RSS feed from Andy's blog and Pete's blog and Ben's. You can create lists of attachments, list blog posts. You can even put in the cheese macro. I'm trying to remember what this one's for, but you don't really use the cheese macro. Sometimes use things like an info box. It's just a lot of really different nice formatting options and different things that you can do with Confluence. So again, these are all sort of various different categories: external content, embedding media or PDFs or whatever else, creating navigation maps, page indexes. Again, not really doing a whole lot of this kind of stuff yet, and there's tagging available, and tagging is something that eventually I would like to see do a lot more of. Actually, they call it labels, so you can add labels to pages, and then it's possible to actually build up directories based on the labels, so that you can get a kind of a view of related information.
Hey, Dave, when you used to have articles in Clarion Mag, you had like downloading source files or something like that. You still can do that here, right? And
oh yeah, sure.
Does it?
You actually
Does it keep track of who's downloading it, or how many times it gets
There's
downloaded?
I have to see if there's a plugin available to display that information. I
It
don't
might, huh?
actually know
Okay.
at this point.
I'd be kind of curious because then that helps in your ranking type of stuff too, you know.
Yeah. Um, I didn't actually there were a few things I wanted to bring up. I think just pretty much we're up on an hour already
Yeah,
here. So,
that half an hour went
um,
long. I'm sorry.
yeah, well, I talked too much. I do have a couple of questions. In fact, I think what I want to do is and I'll just kind of toss this out there, and maybe everybody's still waking up and haven't had their coffee yet. But in going through the WinDev in an hour a day stuff, um, one of the things that I've been particularly impressed with about WinDev is sort of this end-to-end development environment where you don't just have a place to write code, you have a place to kind of manage your code, and you have a place to sort of get a view of the health of your project. So I guess one of the things I wanted, and maybe it's not so much a question, maybe it's more sort of a challenge for the WinDev users out there, is that with those tools in hand, I would certainly like to hear from people who are using them, and if people aren't using them, I would like to see more people using that. And I'd also like to see more people who are putting their business logic in classes. So
Oh my goodness.
bring up
Hey, so you're doing WinDev once a day? Yeah, you're doing 17, not 16 anymore, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, on 17. And this is just one of the sample projects here. But what I'd really be interested to see is how many people are going over here to classes and they're creating their classes and they're using the classes to model their business logic. And then once they've modeled their business logic, they're going over to unit tests and they're creating unit tests to to uh, to actually verify that the classes are doing what they think they're doing. And then with those classes and with those unit tests in hand, using the project dashboard to get some sort of a sense of whether their stuff is all working the way they expect it to work. And and that's something that if people aren't doing, I think
They should.
you're missing out. And I'm not I'm not just talking about I'm not just talking about business logic in classes. So that's something I'm a huge fan of. I really like to see that being done. But also your queries. I mean, one of the great things about WinDev is that you can define queries and then reuse them all over the place. I mean, I think it's and internal windows and all kinds of things that you can reuse. But all those things really, I mean, things need to be tested. So stuff that you've got, and there's user interface testing, which is a good thing. Um, the thing that I think is that I really harp on a lot is the core business logic. And what I'm hoping people are doing is I'm hoping they're starting to write their core business logic in classes. I hope they're writing unit tests to verify that the business logic is doing what they think it's doing, and so that when they use that code somewhere in their in their project, that they have a much higher level of faith in what that code's doing. So in other words, especially for people who are coming from the Clarion world and maybe doing both, and obviously people in Clarion world know that I'm a big fan of unit testing, and there's the Clarion test project which you can use for that. Um, I think that the risk, the downside, potential downside in WinDev is very much like the potential downside in Clarion. There's a real risk there that people are just going to bury their business logic in embed points. And and my encouragement is don't do that. Okay?
Start.
Isolate your business logic as much as you can. Just stop. Just don't do it. Just say no and put that business logic in some form where it's reusable and testable. And you've got a complete environment here. You can actually it's really nice because you can test that code and you can get a little you can go to your project dashboard and you can get a sense of whether that code all still good, and take advantage of that. And if you were somebody, as I think we all have been, who put your business logic in embed point, just go the other way now. It's time to change. It's time to just to take a better approach.
Well, I'd love to see
End
a
of story.
webinar on that.
There is a little bit. I would in the WinDev in an hour a day stuff. Oh, where are we here? Other one. Okay. Okay. So starting on day 005, down the testing rabbit hole. So this, I went off on a little detour here, and if you want to read about this, this will give you a little bit of a background for how you actually do some testing, and the next day talks about that as well. A few more unit tests, and don't go into any big sort of discussion of the relative merits and why you need to be doing this, but you need to be doing this. So just trust me on that. Really nice to have all those stuff built into the system. So I'd like to see people taking advantage of that.
Oh, totally agree.
Oh, one more thing. Okay, so because I think probably everybody here's on the Skype chat.
Oh yeah. Show us this
Okay,
goodie.
so yeah.
Uh-oh, Pete was talking.
The WinDev Skype chat. So here's the log.
By day.
And so it goes back to the two of them. I have to check and see what that is there, but been kind of going month by month. So if you go in here and look, for instance, here's June. It's just a dump. It's just the raw stuff. But
do you take any nasties out, or?
It's a raw dump, so
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. And anybody who's in the Skype chat, if I see your name listed in the Skype chat, and I know you're there, you don't have to have a subscription. I can set you up, and I'll give you access just to this space here.
Oh, that's nice.
As long as you're in the Skype chat, you can get access to the this area.
So there's a search. You can do a search throughout the whole Skype chat area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and this is just a particular space on its own. So again, this is the WinDev Skype chat space. So if I'm looking for SQL, I can restrict this to WinDev Skype chat, and I can just only look at the results, within this particular chat, within this particular space. And if I want to, within the last month, let's say. Which brings up, and it's the only question, I had a number of things I kind of wanted to throw at people. If anybody would like to post something on this. Where are we here? Explicit joins. Let me go back to the most recent. No, I think it's the previous day. I wonder about implied joins. This is something I've noticed about WinDev when I'm looking at at the SQL that's being generated. I asked about this in the chat, and I don't think anybody replied to me. The SQL that WinDev generates, there's a where clause, which, as I understand, is sort of like an old style implied join. And I'm just wondering if there's a way to actually, without writing SQL, if there's a way to get WinDev to generate an explicit join, or whether it's actually doing that behind the scene and it's not actually just showing it here. So that was just a little question I had, a little challenge.
Maybe Pete or Alan or somebody can type it in the chat screen here.
You know what? You type it in the chat, or if you're online here, you can also just add a comment.
That would be good too.
Yeah. You type it in the chat, maybe I'll just paste it in as a comment or add it as a note. Because after all I have to do is press E, and I'm editing, I can go down and I can put in.
Yeah, but we want their name to be there.
Andy says, ooh. Dude.
Gonna happen.
That ain't gonna work.
That ain't gonna happen. All right. Okay, here. Pete sent something here.
Part of...
Here, do you want to copy it off the chat? This chat? It says,
Oh, where do I see the
Go
chat
back to the
there?
other side.
It says the optimizer will likely handle either the same, but I have seen a few rare statements that are better with joins. Yeah, no, where clauses aren't. Where clauses, and I was kind of curious because I've always used explicit joins when I write code like that, and so I did a little searching around there, and I found that at least among some people, they're kind of like, well, sort of back in the old days, it'd be at least with some SQL databases before you had explicit joins, they were just implied in the where clause, but generally the explicit joins are favored. So I just thought it must be in there somewhere, and I'm just not seeing it. So that was my question. But anyway, not a big deal. It was just as I've gone through, and if you read through all of these 32 reports so far, and it'll continue on. As with anybody, I think, and you're looking at stuff like this, you're going to relate it to your past experience, and there are going to be things that you're going to say, well, I should be able to do this, and why can't I? And other things you're going to find that are really cool that you can do, and you wish why you hadn't been able to do it in whatever else you were using. Kind of stuff that's all part of the learning process. So I'm always grateful when people have chimed in the past and cleared up things for me that I didn't understand.
Pete says it's definitely old school.
Okay.
The where clause, that is. And you know what? If you go into Navicat and all these others and it generates the code for you, you see the joins. So, and nice thing about WinDev, you just copy that sucker and put it between square brackets. Boomo. There you go.
Okay. Well, I have so much to learn.
So anyway, gosh, this is a good hour and 15 minutes or
I think that'll probably do.
Yeah. I invite you anytime again to dive into some of your favorite topics because I know you have opinions.
Well.
And maybe we can open it up. We can do a panel with you and somebody else if you want to do it that way. But I think I've enjoyed today. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for the opportunity.
Okay.
Appreciate
If there's no further question, we'll cut it off for the day because I have to run to another webinar.
Okay.
No more questions? Okay. Dave, thanks. Oops. Thanks. Okay. Dave, thanks again. And at short notice, because I asked him yesterday. So thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. And I hope people come and visit you at DevRoadmaps. Hey, by the way, where's WX Live in here? It was just the notes thing, right?
Type in.
Okay.
Yeah. So WX Live it's under the Wiki section, and it's right down here. So it's under Webinars. So it's links, Webinars, WX Live.
Cool. Because I want to see your notes sometimes. Super duper. Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now.